people were feeling guilty with all of the people that are suffering in the world, like right now, or even in our country, or anywhere. It's like all of this suffering that's happening. How can we focus on our joy and our intimacy and amidst whatever kind of privileged life we have? And I think that the thing is that we can't solve the world's problems by putting aside or by ignoring our own intimacy with each other. In fact, it's the opposite. Hey everyone, welcome to Startup Spouses, where our goal is to help entrepreneurial couples to make their mediocre relationship mind-blowing. I'm Adam, and I'm a business coach.
And I'm Marie, a relationship and sex coach.
And yeah, we have been married for over 20 years, and in that time, we've gone through a lot of stuff. And I think right now, times are pretty tense within the world. Right?
I would agree, and I'm glad we're doing an episode on this because whether it's now, something happening now, or even in the future, if you find yourself in tough times too. So
yeah, well, and I think that's part of the reason we wanted to touch on this subject today of what's happening in the world, what's happening in our nation, what's happening, in our businesses and our relationships is. Because I think a lot of times, we've been listening to quite a few podcasts on this specific topic, and I think the common theme is that people, are feeling, disconnected from each other. But even within our individual relationships, it can affect our relationships as well, and of course, all of the macro stuff that's going on and all of the micro stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think this is an area where we have a specific level of experience,
resiliency, I would say.
Resilience, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so I think we have a unique perspective, and we just want to give some, couples out there that are building businesses together and building relationships together. Those two things. We want to give you some tools to help you stay connected during these times, because you don't want to lose the most important relationship you have when things seemingly fall apart around us. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. Any thoughts on what's going on in your world?
What's going on in my world is from just the perspective of I feel like it's just a lot of heaviness of not only like around surrounding us, mm-hmm. Even though we've been here before, right? You and I have been in some heaviness, some challenges in our life. It's just, it's surrounding us, and man, it's a lot of people are suffering. Yeah, and I know it's unfortunate and it's hard and difficult, but I feel like there needs to also be some levity to the situation too. Sure. Especially in your relationship, your day-to-day, because, I find myself torn, trying to balance being informed and also not being overwhelmed by all the stuff going on in this world.
That's so true. I mean, because it's just at our fingertips now. And, yes. And yeah, I mean, and there is, I don't know if you feel this way too, but there is this certain sense that of maybe shame or guilt if you don't stay informed, or if you turn off the news or anything like that. And I know I certainly have felt that. And I mean, that's kind of the nature of a talk I once did, which was like, hey, I shut off the news for years. I shut off like all of the negativity on social media and all of the politics and all of that stuff. I just tuned it out because I didn't want to be overwhelmed by it anymore. And I just started telling a dumb joke a day. And I'll say that activity changed my life. But I think we're at a point now where things that are happening in this world are so far beyond that, beyond just like kind of like, hey, telling a joke and everything will be better in here. I mean, it may help for your sanity, but those things are still happening, and we still feel that guilt or shame. And I think it's important to add kind of like what the context is of like, what are we seeing right now that's affecting our nervous systems so much? I mean, naturally, we have things like economic uncertainty, and these are things that can affect our businesses. We have an economy that's largely measured by just a handful of companies on the S&P 500, not the full 500 companies that are on there, but it just like five or six that make up 50% of that entire. And so that level of concentration is dangerous, even if it makes it look like the economy is going really well. We have a bill that was just passed through Congress, at the end of last year, that promises to increase our national debt load and our deficit by trillions of dollars from a party that promised not to do that, and have put basically militarized people on the streets to go and essentially disappear people.
Yes.
There's scary things going on, and all of it is wrong. I mean, definitively, there's no debate on that. But I think the issue comes down to, okay, so it's wrong. We all, and I think within our relationships, if we're feeling that way, or however we're feeling, even if you disagree with me, you probably feel some sense of emotion on the other side that maybe causes you to think like, well, how can we be connected or intimate like when all this stuff is going on? And
I think it's especially because of the separation.
Right.
I mean, this is the divisiveness in the world right now is separating all of us. Our devices are separating us.
Yeah.
So how in the world are we supposed to have this separateness, being this polarization, and then go back and connect with each other in a relationship?
That's such a great point.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we see this all the time, but do you feel that as in relationships that people are less connected now with their significant other because of the polarization of the nations, even the world too?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really valid point and a really good observation. I don't know if the data supports it or what the data says about it, but it definitely sounds true to me. And I can at least speak anecdotally, as to where my mind goes when I know a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. I'm friends with a lot of people on both sides of the polarized aisle. And when I get into my emotion or my feelings about what's happening, I start to have arguments in my head with people that I barely even know about this, and it just kind of just increases that tension just in my own mind because I'm creating that in my head. But then I go to talk with them, and we are able to connect. And I think that goes to one of the tools that we have that, I'll kind of tease one of them before we share our story and a little bit of what we've been through with our challenges. But I think one of the important tools here is that you cannot connect digitally at the same level you can in person.
Yes.
You just cannot do that. And you cannot connect with people. Just saw a talk by Dr. Kelly Flanagan, who brought this concept up. You cannot connect with people with a closed heart.
No.
You can only connect with people with an open heart. And a lot of times your heart's able to close a lot more when you're digital. When you're in the comment section. I mean, that and maybe there's a dopamine release that comes with feeling that self-righteousness that when you're reading it. But when you're with a person that you know and love and you respect, you're maybe more able to open your heart a little bit more and maybe open it intentionally. And I think to that point, getting in front of people and connecting with them on that level, breeds understanding. And as Dr. Stephen Covey might say, seek first to understand before being understood. And that's, easier said than done when you're looking at, atrocities being committed in a lot of ways across the world. But I think that's kind of a place to lead from is more of an open heart, and even with your spouse. So I think maybe that's teasing a little bit of the tools, but I'd love to hear maybe from you some of our experience that we've been through. I mean, going back to 2020, right? When I think shit hit the fan quite a bit for us during that time, 2019, 2020, and for a lot of us. But let's go back in time. What was happening around that time?
About that time is when we started really recognizing our daughter becoming anorexic, and that point in time where she was getting really, really super thin and not eating, and we couldn't figure out how to get her to eat. And I did this purposely. I didn't get her on the scale. Right. I took her to the doctors because I knew in my mind that she wouldn't listen to me. Like it's like if I put her on I knew for some reason, I'm like, don't weigh her, take her to the doctor. Let's see what's going on. Yeah. You know?
Well, you had a unique kind of relationship with what she was going through at that time.
Yeah. Because of my relationship with an eating disorder. Right. Too. And I felt that she was quite thin, and I didn't know, even having the disease doesn't qualify for me for knowing exactly what to do. It actually wasn't really, I didn't really know that much about it. I didn't have a lot of help with it. Right. So, but I thought taking her to the doctors would be one of those things. And she was actually really, really sick, orthostatic. A lot of things that has to do when you get that thin is even refeeding is a really big thing. And it's like things that you should not be doing by yourself. This is serious and needs to be hospitalized too. Right. And I remember that. And the thing was, it was not only that, but I just had lost my mom a few years before that, who was also in the medical field, I relied upon to help me in these situations, to understand it and get advice from her too. So
yeah, that was within a couple of years. It wasn't like a long period of time.
Yeah, it wasn't that much longer afterwards too. And not having that, and kind of like almost having that another grief process in that, because I did. And then to make matters even more fun, it's right when the pandemic it was like February. She went in March. Right. And that was pretty much the shutdown too. Yeah. We were trying to keep her out for like 3 weeks, and we were really trying to keep her out of the hospital because it was scary. It was really scary for her to be in the hospital. So, but then we had to. So it
happened like it wasn't like this was like a gradual process. I mean, this was December of 2019. I was going and having ice cream and burgers with daddy-daughter dates with my daughter, and then January she was screaming at a pizza.
Yeah, that's the way I've looked at it. Yeah, stuff, and it wasn't anything. I mean, I was contacting doctors and psychiatrists.
There's no manual for it. There was just no
No. And then the pandemic on top of it. I was like, I don't even have time to worry about this part of it. Yeah. I mean, I did because of the fact that I didn't want to keep her in a hospital. Yeah. Yeah. Because that was really scary. Right. So it was like all the above. And, we're fairly new to the neighborhood that we were in. So...
So we didn't know a lot of people. I mean, we didn't have we didn't really have a good support network.
No, not even that, because I mean, I think alcohol really pushed us away from any sort of connection with other people. So, and then sobriety.
We were sober, and it wasn't like we
not
were
even
drinking,
before that. Even before that, like we were kind of in that shame spiral of drinking too much. Yeah. So we didn't connect with anybody too. So that period of time, I know I'm going way back. I've just like rewound so much time, but having no support system, because we kind of burned those bridges along the way because of our shame of drinking first, and then being sober. We're like, well, nobody wants to hang us around us anyways. Yeah. And, we need to keep our peace with people,
we just hadn't found our community yet, really. I mean, And and on top of that, I mean, like that's kind of one of the things that obviously impacted us on a family level, and then on the from that side, and then on the other end of it, you know, it would be great if I had a stable and secure job that, you know, I could maybe take some time with to help take care of that, but I didn't. I was running a company at this time, uh, um, you know, a multi-generational family business with 150 employees that was losing money and was full of dysfunction that they weren't willing to, that nobody was willing to address. And all of that weight kind of fell on my shoulders, to try to, you know, to try to figure out or work through. And so we were dealing with all of these, what I would call micro issues. And I wouldn't say that micro because they were small, they were big to us, but I mean, they were micro in the sense that they related specifically to us. And the macro, meaning the worldly stuff, also came into play. The pandemic, January 6th, you know, those things that we see, and like all of this uncertainty, and all of this dialogue that was being fueled by really bad people, and you know, that all of that stuff just kind of like blended into us. I think in our relationship really suffered there because we didn't really have the tools, and we just weren't prepared for all of that stuff to happen all at once. And it wasn't just an overnight thing. I mean, when the pandemic happened, I running a business in California where we were considered essential because we're delivering water treatment products. In those first 2 weeks of the pandemic, I was sitting there thinking to myself that I have employees that I'm going to have to send out into the world where we think this deadly disease is going to kill people. And so am I sending people to their deaths because they have to do this, because we have no other choice? And meanwhile, our daughter's, you know, going through what she's going through. And in the midst of that, you know, we're having our relationship challenges because of all of it, and because we don't have the tools to connect yet. All of that to say, I mean, that there's, when those things hit, the tools, the resources are important. And I think we're in that time period now where that's happening again, where that macro is blending into the micro, where we have a lot of this uncertainty, where we have a lot of this polarization, where, you know, where people are getting murdered before our eyes.
Yeah.
And on the micro level, people are struggling. In your business, you may be struggling with trying to hit your numbers, especially if you're running your business with your spouse, or building a business with your spouse. That uncertainty there piles on, and it compounds. So how do we maintain the integrity of the relationship when all of that shit is hitting the fan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do we?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of opening up.
Me?
Yeah, it's opening up the conversation. How about that?
Wow, it's that was hard. I think because we did everything wrong in the first place. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
like, I guess maybe a different way to present that question is what did we do wrong?
We pushed all of our own feelings down.
We deprioritized our relationship.
Yeah, we deprioritized.
Right.
I remember it was like you couldn't even, when in the hospital, you could only have one parent. Mm-hmm. That was the lucky thing. So we had our son who was too young to be home alone. So, as well. So one parent was home, one parent was at the hospital with the child. So, that being said, where was the time between you and me? I mean, luckily, what I did prioritize was my health.
Right.
And I would take a run before I would go to the hospital. And, you know, that meant sacrificing time at the hospital. So I'd end up sometimes maybe going at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I needed to also have that time for myself too, because we had some beautiful trails and running and listening to music, and at least I got that in. But with me and you, there was barely. It was just like we were complaining all the time to each other. That's what it was.
It was damage.
Like, this
you
is
said
what
damage
happened.
Control in the past, and that's kind of what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we were. It's like an open wound that, like, we didn't. We couldn't even just like have time to repair.
Right. Right. Yeah. And but I think you bring up a really great point there. That is a tool that, I mean, the first tool people should latch onto. I think our tendency in in the chaos, is that our nervous systems are triggered, and, you know, we're looking out for that. We become hypervigilant. Our nervous system gets triggered. But I think that if you get into the routine of prioritizing, you know, yourself and your health and everything related to that, that is an important first foundation of what we need to do. I mean, I think that to the extent that we consider like our relationship when we think about what we want to put first, you know, we've thought about the idea of like, you know, well, do we put our kids first, or do we put ourselves first, or things like that? And I think we landed on, you know, we put our relationship first.
Yes.
But I think I've thought of, you know, something more you know, about that, and that is, yes, we put our relationship first, but we have to put ourselves firster.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean,
I'm a firster.
Yeah, we have to put ourselves firster, which means that we have to like build into ourselves the routines and the habits that help us to stay healthy, so that we can show up in our relationship.
Yeah.
And then when you show up in your relationship better, when you put those tools to put your relationship, you know, first after yourself, like together, then that helps you to put your attention on the kids and things like that. So making sure that you're prioritizing the right things. It's not so yeah, prioritizing your health and wellness is definitely one.
Yeah. And to be fair, and it wasn't just wasted time in these hospitals. It's just like they were teaching me also how to have boundaries as well, and when to, because it's not an easy disease, and it's actually quite frustrating and scary for a parent to see their child go through it, because they get quite angry. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I learned how to step out and say, I understand you're upset right now, and you cannot talk to me that way. So therefore I need to step out and walk and take care of myself. Mm-hmm. So that was a good tool that I've learned in that time period too.
Right. Yeah. Being willing to have those boundaries is part of taking care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I think getting into another tool or another solution for kind of those macro and micro problems coming at us all at once, mm-hmm. is when there are so many things outside of your control that are you know, affecting your nervous system or affecting our nervous systems. Like when we're seeing all of this stuff, and we're wondering how we can connect as human beings, like with each other, especially in a relationship. I think that's where systems become increasingly important. These are operating systems for your business, but not just for your business, because I mean, if your business is struggling, this is where, I mean, taking just the business operating system for a moment, putting that business operating system in place, if your business is struggling, if it feels chaotic, helps you to get control over the things that you can control, helps you to get the right people in the right seats, helps you to build a vision for what you want, helps you to move everybody in that direction, helps to get the right data and really solve the most important things that you can solve, so that you are focused on and prioritizing what's important. But and when I say operating system, that's just really operating on a system that allows you to build that vision, get a healthy team, and execute well. There are systems like EOS that can do that really well for you.
Yeah.
But not just in your business. Building that operating system for yourself, so you know your internal operating system. And we'll talk about this more in a future episode, because we can go really deep on what that individual operating system is. Because once you know that individual operating system, getting to your point about taking care of yourself first, you begin to understand what you need, what you want, what your vision is, and how you show up in the world. You can share that with your spouse, and then you can develop, and your spouse doing that on the other side, you can develop a relationship operating system. So you have these operating systems for each part of your life. Those are the elements that help you to control the things that you can control, so that you're not just overwhelmed by everything that's outside of your control. And you can start to really focus on what you can control.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds super sexy and hot and I just love
operating
that.
systems.
I know. Coming from a relationship and sex coaching, it's just like
sure.
I say that with love, but I
get a huge heart on for it though.
I'm getting kind of passionate about this part because even though it sounds dull, and a lot of women probably are the same way, like I'm gonna set up what?
Yeah.
Like what am I doing? Let me just even go at a tinier level where you can see this working in your life. Also, like I have ADHD, I had depression,
Right.
I'm not very organized, and people who know me, like, you have such a happiness, you have energy, and you have this like passion for life, and that doesn't happen just by accident.
Right.
It's systems I set up for myself during the day.
Yes.
And setting up like morning habits too, which a lot of people do. But I didn't realize how much we are known like for, we are committed to that. Even when we go away,
1,000,000%.
we are really committed to our breathing, our meditation, and anything else that puts us in a mindset to be in communication, be in connection with other people even.
Yeah.
So it's those rhythms or rituals in the morning that are so important, that we are like, this is our boundary. You do not come. My kids know, do not talk to me first thing in the morning. You give me space because I need to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But also, if you've ever done this as a female, like set yourself up for the next day.
Yeah.
Set everything up, whether it's, if you're a mess like me, like put everything out on the counter that you need for the next day. Set your clothes out. My sister had taught me this. So yeah, set yourself up to win, because you don't know what's going to happen in the morning. The dog could throw up on the carpet, and you or something else. One kid is sick, or the pipe could break.
Right.
But also you need that sanity. If you do not set up these structures, these systems, you're going to fall apart. It's
Absolutely.
like, it's going to be stressful. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be out of control.
Yeah.
So that's why we set yourself up for the next day to do these things. So this is why it's so important. I know it's important, even though I think it's boring as hell.
Sure.
But it works.
Yeah, because, well, if you're not doing those boring, repetitive tasks and getting into the habits and behaviors that are going to help you win the day, you can't have the exciting, fun time. You just can't. And that's true in your business. It's true individually. And it's true in your relationship, because the business systems that are boring and they should be boring. I mean, this is foundation work. If you're going to build a beautiful mansion on the beach, right? Like overlooking the waves with all of the accoutrements, or whatever the heck you want to call them.
Wow.
For your,
I know, French.
I'm French. All of those things that you want in a beautiful home, and you're not going to think of the foundation like that is built, that all of that stuff that's built deep into the mud and the sand and the cement that's down there. You don't think about it because it's so strong and it's doing what it should be doing. Those are the systems. Those are the structures. Those are the foundational. That's the operating system working for you to build that beautiful mansion. That is your life. And that starts individually with you. And I love the way you put that. Part of the operating system is how you start your day. Starting your day, getting control of your nervous system, building into those habits of meditation, journaling, whatever works for you. There's no one size fits all for that. But just making sure you're spending that time for yourself in a positive way, and not just jumping on your phone and doom scrolling social media, because that's going to trigger you into the stuff that you can't control. Not just checking emails and getting immersed into work, because you're letting the world take control of you instead of you taking control of yourself at the beginning of that day. And then
Bravo.
later in the day, I like what you said about like the end of the day, preparing for the next day, like laying your clothes out. Could also be, writing out the 3 specific to-dos that you have to do tomorrow, whatever level that is. Because if you're not doing that, then you're exposing yourself again to being consumed by the world by doing that. And that's individually. That's part of that individual operating system. Also included in that is like your values and what your vision for the world is and all of that. Again, we'll talk about that in a future episode. But then it's about the relationship operating system, right? You need a system to connect together, because what this episode is really about is how do you stay connected and intimate and have fun and all of this stuff when all of this chaos is going on around you on the macro and the micro in your business, when your business is struggling or when the world is blowing up. And that relationship operating system where you understand each other's operating systems, where you are building in those the relationship systems to succeed, the boring stuff that you can have fun. That's also vital to keeping that connection going. So what are the pieces of that relationship operating system that you found valuable?
Part of the relationship operating system is having that connection every day too. Like connection. Like, I don't have time for this. Like, where am I going to fit this all in? The kids have to go here. We have to do this. You find either 10 minutes in the morning, 10 or a 15-minute walk in the evening with each other.
Yeah.
You have little ones, have them, play, and then you sit down and talk, or even wait till they go to sleep and have that connection with each other, like sit in the backyard.
Absolutely.
I know it's colder outside, but it's taking those moments and like making sure that you are a unit together, not like in the moment. Unit.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's that period of time where you can let go of everything that's chaotic in your world to spend time with each other.
Not talking about business.
No.
Not talking about
not
kids.
business, not kids.
Yeah. Focusing on each other.
If you need a vent, have a separate time for that, or have it like you give a time limit. Like you have 5 minutes. Tell me everything that's going wrong.
Right.
And then the next 10 minutes, if you need to, because we all know that sometimes we need to vent.
Right.
But having that time just to connect, and you're like, what am I supposed to do in those 10 minutes? And what you can do in those 10 minutes is, I don't know. Have you ever looked at your significant other? Like, have you ever just stared into each other's eyes? It's so
awkward.
It is so uncomfortable. I mean, we've done it so much now that we get it. We like understand it, but yeah, it's awkward. It's weird. Like even a minute.
Yeah.
Ooh,
we're doing it right now.
Long right now. Yeah. We are looking at each other in the eyes, and I can do this for a long period of time.
Yeah. And we can do it in silence, facing each other, looking into each other's souls. And that's because you get through that awkward first step in it, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's vital. But I think that's it's a great way to connect. I mean, do the uncomfortable thing and connect that way and just see what happens. What are you afraid of? But yeah, I love that. And I think another connection rhythm too has been our weekly, meeting, like where we just non-negotiable get together, we talk, we connect, we talk about what's going right. We solve the issues in our relationship. And that's an important part. And I think the important part of this relationship operating system is that you're prioritizing the most important things that keep you connected. And yes, even just as we talked about last week, scheduling sex and making sure that you're putting it on the calendar in some way so that you can stay intimate together as husband and wife, not as business partners. You've got a business operating system for that. Have that meeting another day during the week, but meet with your spouse as a lover, as your best friend, as the person that you're spending your life with and building a vision with. That's what keeps you connected amidst the chaos in the world.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I think, some of the other ways I think I think that's another thing to consider in this is the idea that, like, in the macro, when everything's going wrong and you can't control it, and in the micro, when everything's going wrong and you feel like you have to juggle everything, and the relationship's taking a back seat. Obviously, it's important to prioritize your relationship in the ways that we talk about. But it's also important to know that as this stuff happens, there's a lot of gravity that comes into these events that happen. Like, it's almost, it's like when another shooting happens, or another something else happens in the world, and we're drawn to it, and we feel like we have to pay attention, we feel like we have to get angry, we feel like we have to engage in the comments section. But here's an important point that you need to consider. If you're the type that wants to spark change in the world, I used to hear in the 90s when we were in civics class and U.S. government, all this kind of stuff, that all politics is local. Even though we have such a global world right now, that nothing remains truer than that statement. All politics, all change, everything happens in a local level. And what that means more broadly is you're never going to change the world in the comments section of Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. You are never going to change people's minds, their convictions. You will only embolden them by sharing your opinions on those platforms. From the standpoint of connection, it goes back to the human connection element of it. If you want to spark change locally. Call your congressperson. Call them repeatedly. Email them. Ask them about the change there. Go to your city hall meetings. Talk about it there. And go to local events or protests or things like that, and peacefully do the things that can spark change on a local level, because that's what expands across the country, not on Instagram. That is just a black hole of where our anger and our hatred live. And that only seeks to embolden those that want to do harm in the world. And those that do have power now are using those platforms to get you to be angry, so that it can distract you from the real things that they need to get done. And that's just the reality of it. So put down the phones at night before you go to bed. Make that part of your nightly thing. Don't get as involved in the doom scrolling. Challenge yourself to turn off the news for a period of time, and spend that time connecting with your spouse.
I'd like to add to that too, starting to help at the local level, especially with your neighbors. I mean, we've got to start there too.
Right.
Helping out your neighbors, helping out people in the community, volunteering at food pantries. It's really important that we start connecting and bringing that back into our communities. Is that connection not only with maybe it starts at ourselves, our relationships, and flows into the community. And that way we can spread that throughout and make a difference that way too.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. It's like proximity. It's like the closest relationship you have is with yourself. Like that starts there, and then with your spouse, and then your business, and then obviously your community, and then more broadly. But that's such a great point, and I think a great observation. Just get involved locally. That connection starts locally. You can't solve things in the comments section, so just get off of it. Know what its purpose is. It's to hit your dopamine. It's to piss you off. It's to make a handful of influencers super wealthy, and they're doing it through controversy. That's the whole point. Yeah. Focus on building that relationship, which is the thing that fuels everything else, which I think gets to the last point that we want to make here, is that just know, if you're feeling that level of I heard about this being talked about on another podcast that we follow with Vanessa and Xander Marin, who run the Pillow Talks podcast. Yeah. which is great relationships podcast as well. And you know, they talked about the idea of they were hearing from a lot of listeners this idea that people were feeling guilty with all of the people that are suffering in the world, like right now, or even in our country, or anywhere. It's like all of this suffering that's happening. How can we focus on our joy and our intimacy, and amidst whatever kind of privileged life we have? And I think that the thing is that we can't solve the world's problems by putting aside or by ignoring our own intimacy with each other. In fact, it's the opposite. I mean, I think we need to connect more, and we need to focus on the intimacy, the sex, the relationship, and make sure that we're staying connected so that we can show up better as parents, as business leaders in our own business, and for the communities that we want to serve if we want to be altruistic. Yes, suffering is always going to happen, but I think it's always, it's more in front of our eyes now. We just see it more. And yes, it's amplified now because of very bad people.
Yes.
But
this is no way trying to diminish what's going on. It starts with your own connection. Mm-hmm. And that's what's missing in this world. If we cannot connect with ourselves and our spouses, how are we expecting to connect to the world around us?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we have to build that muscle to do that. So, and because of what I said earlier about everything, how are we expected, since we're so polarized, and then come home and be intimate with each other without and feeling connection when everything else is. So it starts with us. It starts with one person, you know, and then you pass it on to another person.
Yeah. It's a great place to leave it. And if you're out there and this episode resonated with you, or if you have questions or anything like that, reach out and you know, post in a constructive dialogue, let's call it, in the comment section, so that we can actually, you know, talk about this subject more, and how we can connect better. That's really our goal within this whole community, and what we're building here. Is we want to help you to enhance the very relationship that fuels everything else. And if you want to get started on that, we have a great guide that we're putting together. And it may or may not be up yet, may not be ready by the time this episode launches, but I want to just kind of put it in your ear that we have a guide for a workbook for that couple's connection that serves as a resource for you to have that weekly rhythm, that weekly meeting with your spouse that can improve and enhance your connection. And that's a starting place. That was our starting place for a 10 out of 10 relationship. And I think what we're putting together will be that for you. You can download it for free once it's ready, and we'll post it where you can find it. So be on the lookout for that. And if you like this episode, share it with a friend. Share it with on the very socials that are turning our negative minds into something. Let's throw something positive out there. Let's try to connect one another. So we'd appreciate you sharing it with friends, sharing it out there, liking it, subscribing it, doing all those fun things. And any parting thoughts, Marie, before we sign it off?
It's just feel if you feel disconnected, connect with somebody today. Mm-hmm. That's my homework for everybody is if you're not feeling loved, you're feeling a disconnection, connect with somebody. Do something nice for somebody today.
Yeah. Join that community. Yeah. Do something. Yeah. Great final thoughts, and really appreciate you and appreciate what we're building here together. So, and to all of you out there, thanks for joining us today on Stardust Spouses. We look forward to seeing you next time.